Good morning and welcome to the first FCS Holiday Connection webinar. We're coming here to you live from Los Angeles, California. My name is Erica Escartin. I am the Director of Patient Advocacy for Akcea Therapeutics. I'm also your host and moderator for this morning. With me today, I have Mary Philando. Mary is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and clinical lipid specialist in the Los Angeles, Orange County, and Palm Springs area. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Erica.
And next to Mary, we have Sandy. Sandy is an FCS patient. She was diagnosed with FCS as an infant and spent her childhood as a research patient at Johns Hopkins. Sandy has taken a leadership role in the community by acting as a co-moderator for the Facebook group Living with FCS. She lives in Tennessee and is married to Paul, is a mother and a grandmother. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you, Erica.
And then also on the live chat, we have Cynthia Torcott. Cynthia comes to us from Canada. She's a clinical psychologist. She's also an FCS patient, and she will be answering questions on the live chat during this webinar. So hello, Cynthia, and welcome. And I also want to welcome everybody that's viewing us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. We have many people coming from all over the US, so thank you for joining us today. We're excited that you're here. So during this webinar, Mary will identify some holiday foods that are high in fat that could make a person with FCS ill. She will also share some flavorful FCS-friendly recipes, just like the ones we have here in front of us, that taste great. And she'll also be providing some tips to eat out safely at holiday events and family parties. So a little background before we begin. FCS, also known as familial chylomicronemia syndrome. It's a rare and life-threatening disease that prevents the body from digesting fats. So what does that mean? With FCS, the body can't digest fats such as triglycerides, and usually a distinctive sign of FCS is extremely high triglycerides. FCS also is known by lipoprotein lipase deficiency, or LPLD, Fredrickson's type 1, and familial hyperchylomicronemia. And I am very proud that I was able to say that entire phrase all at once. So why are we here, and why does nutrition matter with people living with FCS? People with FCS can't digest long-chain fats. And usually that means that drinking foods and beverages that are high in fat and sugar can lead to dangerous increases of fat in the blood. Consuming high levels of fat may cause severe abdominal pain. Therefore, following a customized nutrition plan is key to reducing FCS symptoms and managing an FCS-friendly lifestyle. We know that living with FCS is hard enough, and food is the center of everything for people living with FCS. Therefore, due to the inability to break down fat, people with FCS really must follow a very specific food and beverage regimen, which Mary will go into a little bit on in our next segment. So at the end of the day, we want to make better food choices, not only for the holiday season, but also throughout the year. And they become sort of a great gateway for us to eat better throughout. So during this webinar, we will review general nutrition guidelines for FCS. Mary will also talk about the new 2018 nutrition label facts. We will discuss strategies for an FCS-friendly holiday season. So we will discuss how to minimize holiday overwhelm. We'll talk about a little bit of a game plan on being a guest and also being a host. We'll try to identify some tips to adapt your own traditional holiday recipes. We'll also share some quick and easy holiday dishes, and we'll walk through a little bit more in detail the recipes we have in front of us. And at the end of the day, we want to help you create some new FCS-friendly holiday traditions. So now I will stop talking because now we're going to get to the better part of the segment. And I'll hand it over to Mary, and Mary will talk to us about some nutritional guidelines for living with FCS.
So, and remember, these are general guidelines that you may be going to see your own healthcare professional and may get differing advice, but these are general guidelines for an FCS-friendly food plan. And we always start first with fat, and it's 10 to 15% of your calories from fat. If you're eating about 2,000 calories a day, that's up to 20 grams of total fat per day. And because it is so low in total fat, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that you do need some essential fatty acids. There are two of them. One's called linoleic acid and one's called alpha-linolenic acid. These can be found in chia seeds or in milled flax, but you do want to talk to your registered dietitian nutritionist to help you plan those because they do contain fat, but they also contain those good essential fatty acids. And the third important thing, and I think everyone with FCS knows that they need to eliminate alcohol. So next, looking at the rest of the foods, we would start out by filling half the plate with vegetables. You've got a good start if you're doing that with the FCS friendly plan. Next, we'd really want to take a look at the fruits. And when it comes to fruit, we like whole fruit. We don't like fruits with sugar, and we don't like fruit juices. Remember that we would like to minimize, in general, total sugar, but okay to have some whole fruit. Next, we would like to look at whole grains. So rather than, refined flours and white rice and bread, we really want to opt for the whole grains. Whole grains can be found in regular things like your brown rice and your whole wheat bread, oatmeal. But then you can try some of the new trending grains that are out today, like farro and quinoa. Next, protein. There's lots of good protein sources. They should all be super lean. You've got your skinless poultry breast. You've got non-oily fish, lots of shellfish out there. Beans, very important source of protein without any fat. You can also look to fat-free egg substitutes and egg whites, and also defatted powdered peanut butter are good choices. And then you fill in the rest with some of your fat-free dairy. So you've got, non-fat yogurt and the Greek yogurt, and you've got skim milk and all the other choices I know Sandy loves. Cottage cheese.
How do you mix the peanut butter powder?
It's kind of an interesting thing. The type of this defatted peanut butter is really just peanuts where they've taken the fat out. And then you can either use it dry, even just dip a banana in it, or you could put it into a smoothie dry, or you could make a peanut butter sandwich by reconstituting it with a little bit of water until it looks like the consistency of peanut butter, and then put it on some whole wheat bread with sugar-free jam, a banana, and you got a nice sandwich. So
the dehydrated comes so you could take it when you were flying?
Yes, perfect. Okay. So if you were, of course, we were going to be traveling during the holidays, and that's a great thing to stick in a little baggie and take along with you, and you've got something that will be a good protein source while you're traveling. Again, we already talked about the minimizing added sugars, sodas, and things like that. We also want to balance food intake throughout the day, better for triglycerides if you spread it out, and then drink plenty of water to stay hydrated.
One of our experts, actually, he was a pancreatologist, and he said that your pancreas loves water. So yeah. I know I don't drink enough water, but...
So that's a good reminder, thinking about decreasing the risk of pancreatitis and keeping that water bottle on your desk or in your workplace, and having lots of calorie-free beverages available during the day to remind you that you do need to drink. And one other thing that is good for people with FCS, and it's kind of an alternate kind of fat, because you know that you can't digest long-chain fats, but you can digest medium-chain triglycerides. And there's a kind of oil called medium-chain triglyceride oil, MCT oil. This is a pharmaceutical grade because it only contains medium-chain triglycerides. You should never confuse it with coconut oil, which contains some long-chain fats and some medium-chain fats. But you want to get just two medium-chain fats called capric acid and caprylic acid. So
Mary, are those ingredients listed on the labels? Because on the support group on Facebook,
Okay.
we talk about the MCT oil because you can find it at a lot of places, health food stores, and
Right.
so they're not all created equal.
exactly,
But-
and with the condition like you have, you want to be sure that you're getting the real thing. You don't want it to be cut with some long chain fat, and you do want to go through your healthcare professional, and sometimes if they write a prescription, you can get it covered,
good.
and then you're getting the right thing. And if it's rejected at first, ask your doctor to write a letter of appeal to explain that you have this condition and this is an important part of your eating. So it may be covered. Using MCT oil, you really start slowly with about a teaspoon a day. You can use it in smoothies. You can put it, drizzle it onto a flatbread. You can make it as a salad dressing. Another thing, you can use it to saute, but it has a very low smoke point, so it burns really quickly. So if you are going to use it, let's say to saute onions and garlic and release all those aromatic flavors that happens with fat, you want to do it over very low heat.
What do you recommend? So if somebody's having a guest over their home, and let's say they want to venture out with MCT oil, how do you recommend, or in your view, how should MCT oil be used that way?
Yeah, and as far as guests go, they won't even know. It's just a very clean taste, and you wouldn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
You would just be sure that you're doing things that you can do under low heat.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, we have potato latkes today. And, if you've ever made potato latkes, you like them to be done with some oil.
Mm-hmm.
And you usually do it over a little bit higher heat because you want them to be crispy and brown. And but if you do them in MCT oil, to half a tablespoon to a pan and a good nonstick skillet, and then you would make the potato latkes, but you may have to cook them longer. So it might need 10 minutes on each side to get that nice brownness. But I don't think your guests would know that these were made with MCT oil.
Good to know.
So remember to check with your doctor or your registered dietitian to be sure MCT oil is right for you.
Great.
So it's important to think about that. Now we're going to go on to something that is exciting for 2018, which is right around the corner, and that is the new nutrition label. So the FDA has new guidelines, and we have a great new label. It is not coming out for every label until the year January 2020. But right now you're seeing many of the new label in there. And just like the old label, there are important things to look at. We have 3 of them listed for you here that you can see on your screen. Number 1, look at the serving size. You all know that. But now the serving size is going to be a little more realistic to what people actually eat. Number 2, total fat grams, always important. Number 3, which is the great new thing, is that you're going to find out what the added sugars are. So right here we have 10 grams of added sugar. And added sugar means anything in addition that was added to the natural sugars that were in foods like fruit and in milk, has milk sugar. So those things are not included, but you can find the extra stuff, and that's going to be really good.
So FCS patients, I'm on a no-fat diet, so why do I even care about the sugar?
That's a good question. And of course, fat is first, and that's the most important thing. But in managing triglycerides, we do look at added sugars, and then we also look at refined grains as increasing those triglycerides. So we'd like to minimize as much as possible the added sugars and the refined grains.
So that just contributes to your numbers, making your...
Could make your triglycerides higher. So now we're going to get into FCS for the holidays. I'm glad. Sandy must be stressed like crazy with 5 kids and 2 grandkids for the holiday, but here she is, and here you all are, that you're here with us today, even though you're probably stressed out and getting ready for the holidays. But we have some tips for minimizing the holiday overwhelm. Sandy, anything that you do at home to make you be here today?
Yes, I encourage moms to use the word no and to be selective about what they participate in. And, I pre-eat when I go out to an event just so that I don't get hungry, get a headache or something.
So you're really thinking ahead to what's coming up and how you're going to handle it, and pre-eating is a great technique. In addition, to saying no, which is great because we need to simplify the holidays and think about what are the real reasons that we love the holiday, and it's spending time with family and friends, and it's not all the other things. So saying no to some things is a really good idea. Also prepare for the unexpected. You've got weather things, you've got unexpected company dropping in. So why not have some fat-free Greek yogurt or fat-free sour cream in the fridge and ready with a vegetable dip mix, and you've got some kind of a dip with some veggies and chips for the people that can eat chips. And, you don't have to stress out about visitors.
What you said about the weather reminded me about Naomi and Justin. They were without power in New England for several days. And she said she functions very well with the FCS diet. She's a cook. What do you do when you have no electricity? So I think it's good to remind the patients to plan ahead for those
plan
things.
ahead. Get some things like cans of tuna and beans and things like that in your pantry that don't need to be heated, that you could eat for times like that. So, and don't forget the importance of exercise. I think, when we get all stressed out, maybe we got too much to do. We're not out there doing our usual activities. And we really need now more than ever to say, let's get out there. Let's take a walk as a family. Let's, really take a yoga class or do some things that will reduce your stress during the holidays. And what about talking about a game plan for being a guest? And then we're going to look at the host. So, Sandy, what kinds of things are you coming into? Are you going to be a guest more often or a host more often?
Probably a guest, but also I find myself at social events for work. And you all know that everything revolves around food. And I heard it last night with the planning of the Mexican meal, and that's like
Which we didn't go for.
Everybody's talking about food. So if you were part of my life, then you probably would not know that anything was wrong with me, really, because I try to blend in and be normal and not attract attention to myself.
And it sounds like one of those strategies was your pre-eating before the party so that you didn't have to make too many requests.
Yes. There's a particular patient who does have a list that she provides, and and I really wouldn't go to that extent, but I think it's because I was diagnosed when I was a child, and there wasn't any low fat, no fat, anything back then. And my family always traveled a lot, and we went to Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg in the Smokies, and we traveled with a cooler to carry my skim milk.
Cooler, good tip.
Yes. And so, now it's easier. The patients that have been diagnosed that are younger than me have a lot more options. But I grew up eating everything very plain. Mark says it's the cardboard diet.
We're going to make it better with all our ideas for herbs and spices.
Yes.
Sandy's not a totally adventurous eater, I'm going to be honest.
But a lot of FCS patients are foodies, and you all know who I'm talking to. So they are excellent cooks.
So while Sandy wouldn't do this, another strategy would be to call ahead. Call your host and explain your condition. I have a condition. You could say that you have a food allergy to fat. You could say that your body doesn't digest fat, and that you're just wondering what they're making for this event. And it depends how comfortable you feel with the person, how many questions you're going to ask. But right away, they may say, well, tell me more about it, and I'd love to make sure that you're taken care of. Otherwise, if they act like they're not that interested, ask if you can bring your own entree to put on the plate. Pre-eat the way Sandy does. You could ask for simple things like, could you please, if you're serving a salad, could the dressing be on the side? or you provide some fruit for dessert would always be a good
My
thing.
mother-in-law
You know?
will fix mashed potatoes, and she just pulls a few out for me so I can just eat them plain.
There you go. So the little things that someone can do, and if you don't ask, you don't know.
Right.
And I get that you don't always want to be, talked about at the party or what's this or answering questions about FCS during a party, especially if it's people that you don't feel familiar with. You also probably often ask to bring a dish to share. Who wouldn't want a big shrimp cocktail platter? Could I bring that? Because it has no fat. You're going to eat a lot of it and you're going to love it. And there you're getting some good food. Before you go, take the edge off your appetite like Sandy does with, even a half a turkey sandwich. If you're planning to eat some food there, always just have something in you. I think it's really good to find somebody to help you at an event, to be your significant other that looks at you or makes sure you have a mocktail in your hand because you're busy and maybe you're not drinking enough, or they're helping you get some food at the buffet or something. Enjoy the company, chat more, and chew less.
That's always a good idea.
Strategies for being the host. Now you have control. Now you're in charge, and you can make it all FCS friendly, or you could decide to do half-half. You could pick a recipe that you're interested in making and remaking and start a couple weeks ahead so you're not stressed about it, so that you can figure out, is this going to work or not? And other people will enjoy it too. The same thing, get someone to help you, be your person, do the little details, help you with the cleanup. That's when you're really tired and more apt to want to
Eat
nibble
the
on
leftover
something.
cupcakes.
Yeah. Send them home with the company. Bake the leftovers. I don't need those around. So you can do a lot more, I think, by being a host when you're more in control. And we have some ideas for recipes for you all today. Right in front of us, I'll start over here. We have a spinach cheese bake, which is kind of an interesting recipe. My mom used to make it for us so that we would eat spinach. And it started out very high fat, and over the years has gotten less and less fat. To today, it has no fat. And it was pretty easy to do because the fat-free cottage cheese works for everything. And so you wouldn't even know that. And next, instead of the regular eggs, we just either use the fat-free egg substitute or we use egg whites. It has a few tablespoons of flour in it, and we just use whole wheat flour, and no one would ever notice that in this recipe. And then lastly, it does have cheese in it. You can either use grated or little pieces of cheese. And for this recipe, we use the totally fat-free sharp cheddar cheese. And you could also either use a fat-free mozzarella as well, and bake it in the oven. If you have guests coming over and you want to cover half of it with nuts, because you're not going to be eating the nut part, but maybe someone else wants it. The next one, we have an apple crisp. And the apple crisp is good because people love to have sweets during the holidays. And this just has apples on the bottom with a little bit of cornstarch and some nutmeg and cinnamon. On top of that, we have oats, which are a great whole grain, and that's mixed with some whole wheat flour and some sugar-free maple syrup. And then we bake it, and you've got a great apple crisp. I already talked a little bit about the latkes. We did use, instead of eggs, we used the egg substitute, and instead of regular flour, we used the whole wheat flour for that one and sauteed it in the MCT oil.
And I think these recipes, Mary, are, a true testament that you don't have to sacrifice flavor and have some wonderful holiday recipes, not only now, but even throughout the year that you can share with family parties, birthdays, brunches.
Right. And these become new traditions for families. Like, oh, Mom, make your great spinach cheese bake, And then we've got a strawberry nog, which is great because we used unsweetened frozen strawberries and then just mixed in a little bit of yogurt and fat-free skim milk and a little alcohol-free vanilla extract for a sweetener.
I'm getting hungry.
I know. They're not letting us eat because they don't want spinach in our teeth, I guess. You were wondering why we're not eating right now, but we are hungry. So we already talked a little bit about adapting your own recipe. Sandy, is there anything special that you do at home to switch out something?
My go-to sweet has always been angel food cake.
Okay.
So
Right, so fat-free, a little bit of sugar, holiday, treat. So that's a good one. When I look at a recipe, I can just take a look at it and say, oh, this has butter in it, or this has, these oily things, and think about either just getting rid of it totally. Some things are very forgiving, and other things you might want to use, yogurt or unsweetened applesauce, or even a fruit puree. I've done like pureed dates and prunes.
I have
to
seen that
replace.
on the cake box because I always make my dad devil's food cake
Okay.
with homemade caramel icing, which I can't eat. But it does tell you how to substitute for
Okay.
those.
Yeah, and it's just that fruit really brings in the moisture that because if you don't have fat, maybe something would
Right.
be dry.
Right.
So that's a great thing. Next, you look at a recipe and just say, okay, this has white flour. Get yourself whole wheat flour, or use rolled oats, or try to switch out all those things. And the last thing I usually do is take a look at the sugars and say, what could I use in place of this? Would this be able to tolerate, let's say, a stevia sugar substitute? Or would I be able to, again, do that pureed fruit? When you mash a banana in something, it's a sweet, so you could actually, make something good just with that. And
Does
no
that
sugar.
substitute equal like a half cup sugar is a half a cup of
on
stevia?
the container, it tells you exactly, what
How to
like
convert
if
it.
it's a third of a cup, then you would use this much, or half cup sugar, you use this much.
Okay.
So it has a good thing on there.
On our webinar on Tuesday, Melissa mentioned how she uses unsweetened applesauce to bake cakes.
Yeah.
She uses the cake flour mix that you get at a grocery store, and you just unsweetened applesauce, and
Instead of
comes out really
straight-
great.
Yeah,
so
half
it's a
cup
really
of
good
oil,
tip.
Half cup of applesauce.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and when we talk about more flavors during the holidays, I think about things like those strong herbs that you can use when you're roasting strong vegetables. For instance, thyme and rosemary are delicious, when roasting rutabagas and carrots and stuff like that. So look towards some of those herbs. And then we have the other more delicate herbs like mint and basil that we would use with zucchini or tomatoes or something. So really, take a look at your little spice containers too, because those containers often right on the label tell you what tastes good with something. So, you get some new ideas like, wow, I could try that poultry seasoning in my pea soup, or thyme in this. Yeah, poultry seasoning in pea soup. Great. So, you can add lots of flavor without adding fat. So I think other food substitutions, a lot of people know about it. There's fat-free mayonnaise out there if you want to make macaroni salad and different things, but you're going to have to, try the whole wheat macaroni. And what else? The fat-free sour cream and the fat-free
that's great.
yogurt are so easy. And
Do they taste kind of the same?
exactly the same. I'm telling you, if you came to my house and you had my dip that I always have ready to go for anybody coming to visit, no one can tell the difference.
After this
And my
webinar,
friends-
Mary, we're going to your
And my
home
friends
and
don't know
have
that
some
was
dip.
what, they just
And
so
can you share with people that are watching us this morning your tip on coffee and what you put in coffee as a substitution for a creamer?
okay, yeah, this is, in the traveling tips, like we're all away and here and there, and you're often could be in a hotel room, which we were last night. And the powdered creamers are not good, and all the if they have the liquid creamer, not good either from a fat standpoint. So I usually take a envelope of the sugar-free, fat-free hot cocoa, and then do the coffee in the room, and then just use maybe like a third of an envelope in there and sort of make a mocha coffee. So that, and I'll
Sounds
even
good.
take an envelope of oatmeal and use the hot water to have an early morning breakfast if you're
Great.
going to be on the run and stuff, and maybe
It's
everybody
difficult.
else is going to be stopping for, something you're not going to eat, but you already got a full stomach of oatmeal.
Yeah, because
And your banana.
we wouldn't be eating waffles, pancakes.
right.
I mean, people that are not on a special diet don't realize how hard it is
right.
when you're traveling.
There are definitely less choices. Other things, thinking about that, you're either going to be flying. That's tough. So you always want to take your own food. You want to have that peanut butter and jelly sandwich that we made earlier. Put that in a baggie and throw it in your purse.
Yeah,
or
same.
a fat-free cheese slice on whole wheat bread with mustard. They won't let you take
Liquids.
liquidy things. But
Okay.
you could do, so always whole wheat bread, fat-free cheese, mustard, boom. You got something there,
That's
and
great.
everybody, and you're hungry.
Yes.
It's a long flight,
Yes.
from Tennessee to here. So you got to think ahead and have your own stuff with you. In the car, like you did, you had your cooler and you could be more you've got your fat-free yogurts and you got your fat-free cottage cheese and things like
And
that.
you can pull off at the grocery. And then when you're stuck in
Yes.
the airport, it's
Right.
different.
But if people want to stop for fast food, you could be having like a Calorie King book in your car that goes over 200 restaurants. You could download the Calorie King app that helps you, navigate those places. And you
Right.
could urge, hey, why don't we stop here instead of there? Because you're going to get the plain baked potato.
Right.
And, so you already have it set up for that whole know before you go kind of thing. Look at the restaurants online. See what you may,
menu.
where you may be going. Look at the menus. Call ahead and ask the right questions to see if they're going to be flexible with, so you don't have to do it at the table. You don't want to draw.
That gets a little uncomfortable sometimes because I love to go to one of our local steakhouses and I order my steak and I order my potato plain. You want it sour cream and butter? No, just plain. And then I order my salad with no dressing. And that probably is the biggest thing that people question. No dressing? What kind of dressing? And, by the time you've answered that 3 or 4 times, everybody at the table is quiet and looking at you,
Yeah, and you don't want to
So-
explain, or get to be
Right.
that center of attention.
Yeah.
I get that. In California, nobody would look at you if you said no dressing, dressing on the side, piece of lemon.
Yeah, I know Donna takes her own fat-free dressing,
Yes.
and a lot of people
Dressing
can
packets.
do that.
Those fat-free dressing packets are wonderful, or
Yes.
take it in a little container, but you can, not even for salad. I mean, you can put it on a baked potato, you could put it on a piece of chicken, you could put it on anything you want to pop up the flavor for.
Or even squeeze a little
So-
lemon on the salad too. It's nice, citrusy and light.
It's great. Lemon on everything. I mean,
Yes.
even lemon in chicken soup and lemon on broccoli. And let's talk about traditions. What are those traditions that we have in our families? And a lot of it does revolve around like how much can we eat? And kind of when you have FCS, you have to take your family in a different direction. It's probably better for everyone. Going on a holiday walk,
Yeah.
going to a special
Driving
theater
around,
event.
drive around the neighborhood and look at all the Christmas decorations.
Sing
and-
seasonal songs, talk about old memories, looking at old videotapes,
Yes.
and those kind of things become more of the heart of the family. And then I know that you do have your favorites, and we've already talked about adapting some of those favorites to these new traditions that you have. So, Cynthia wanted us to remember to talk a little bit about some of the emotional challenges of living with FCS during the holidays. And I know that, being holiday season and thinking so much about food and what you're going to eat and where you're going, it's a constant reminder of having FCS.
Yeah, sometimes it's depressing. Sometimes you feel very deprived. And sometimes you are just feeling rebellious, like I don't want to say no to this. I'm tired of being sick.
And I know that Cynthia says that we really should be mindful of your feelings and validate these feelings and think about where you are on this scale of motivation to, be adherent to this style of eating.
Some people really have to watch what they eat or they're immediately in the hospital. And
Yeah.
and it's difficult, and
Yeah.
it's hard to be sick at the holidays.
Cindy, what are some of the, sorry, Mary,
ahead.
what are some of your own strategies that you implement in your life with your family to kind of reduce or ease some of that emotional stress?
Well, when I'm preparing meal for all the family, you know, I will usually do like a lean cut of a roast and lots of potatoes, and you know, it's something that we can all sit and share. And so we just have special foods and eat a lot of vegetables, fresh veggies for snacks, and it doesn't bother me when they eat normal.
Right.
You know,
right.
I'm used to that because that's how I grew up. So I was a research patient, you know.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
so we, you know, we always were exposed to all kinds of food. And just do what you do.
I know probably during the holidays too, you get a lot of more questions about FCS. You know, so people need to be prepared how, you know, maybe a child that you have is happy to kind of help explain things if you wanted that situation in your house to newcomers to the family, traditions or something. Oh, my mom, you know, can't digest fat, and so she doesn't eat any fat. Also, you know, knowing that it's time to rest and prioritize and simplify, and let's get back to the idea that this is a time that we spend with family and friends. And so really keep track of that and don't eat your emotions. If, you know, if you're feeling this way, maybe it's more important that you take time to meditate or listen to great music, or maybe you want to wear a superb outfit. I love that was an idea of Cynthia's, which I love.
It's nice.
Take a walk. You know, these are all good. Talk to a good friend, you know? So these things are really important for dealing with stress during the holidays. So I thank Cynthia for all those tips, and I know she's on our chat line.
She is. Great. Great, Mary, and great, Sandy. I think this was a great discussion and just, you know, chatting how to deal with so many factors that go throughout the holidays. Just not about food. It's about everything that revolves around that.
It is. It really is.
And thank you, everybody, for sending your questions. The more questions we get, the better. So I appreciate that. And I know that Cynthia on the live chat is also answering questions. So Donna is asking, do I need to count the MCT oil fat grams in my daily allowance?
Hey, Donna.
And that is a great question. And no, you do not need to count the fat grams that you see in MCT oil.
Free fat.
Yeah, so it's free fat. That's a good point, free fat. So because it is not absorbed the way long chain fats are, that you do count up to those 20 a day, for the MCT oil, it's absorbed into the portal circulation, kind of goes to your liver and never is digested that same way. So you do not need to count those fat grams at all. But you adjust, it is a good source of calories for people, you know, so if you're looking, okay, you can't have fat, I shouldn't eat a lot of sugar, I can't eat tons of protein because at some point, you know, proteins could, you know, even chicken has 2 or 3 grams of fat in a boneless, skinless breast. So you're looking for another source of calories. So that is helpful. And then not counting the fat grams is fantastic. And each tablespoon has about 100 calories.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
And free fat, as Sandy says.
Just remember to start slowly. So you want to see how you tolerate it. A teaspoon on your first day, a couple days later, start another teaspoon like that. So, and do check with your own doctor to see if it's right for you.
Great. So now we have a question for Sandy. Sandy, when you are faced with a tempting food, how do you stay?
How do you stay on track?
On track.
How do you stay on
Got
track?
it. Thank you.
Everybody that's on the Facebook board knows that I have a real problem with cake icing. That was a super forbidden food for me, and on my birthday, my mama always fixed me an angel food cake with divinity. But I love one of our local stores' cupcakes, and I was sharing with Mary that I was at the grocery store before I went and picked up Tristan and Leilani, and I circled the bakery like 3 times,
She did tell me that.
really wanting one of those cupcakes with that good shortening icing. I said no.
There you go.
And I bought some fresh strawberries. I love strawberries. And so I just really had a hard time, but I'm going to make myself a sticker chart that is a no chart so that whenever I'm really wanting something, I'm putting the stars on there for when I said no, like in that grocery store. And after I do my chart, then I'm going to go ahead and indulge and have
Yeah.
one.
That's great. And having
good-
that,
yeah.
you know, just talking about that with somebody that's kind of helping you and, you know, whether it's a dietitian or whether it's a good friend, someone else with FCS, just, you know, helping you change those behaviors.
All of us have something.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like Mark's in Chicago and he loves pizza. That's
Yeah,
off the
there-
diet.
Well, Sandy did tell me about her love of this icing. I went to the store and I got the fat-free cream cheese, and I got a little bit of alcohol-free vanilla. And the fat-free cream cheese isn't as, you know, it's not. It doesn't look as much like icing. It kind of goes down a little bit. I did try it first with the stevia-based. And felt like it needed a little more body. So I did put a little bit of confectioner's sugar, which would be a totally for a special event. And it really did taste great. And if you would, you know, almost like drizzle it onto a holiday cake that you've made, that's a whole wheat loaf cake, a banana loaf cake, it would be really good.
I'll
So,
take that recipe.
okay.
Great. So Regina asks, hello, Regina. Some of my holiday recipes have alcohol in the ingredients. Will this burn off when it's cooking?
Good question. It does burn off, and I don't know if it's about like 90%. So there may be some alcohol left. And I know that, you know, our advisors tell us that we should even use alcohol-free vanilla and alcohol-free extracts. So I would say that's a good question for your physician or your registered dietitian nutritionist, just to double check to see how careful you have to be, because sometimes everybody's a little bit different. So we would say don't do it, but you should check with your own physician to see. Even though it burns off, there still is something left there.
Another question that we're getting, are vitamin supplements important for a person with FCS?
And that's a good question for your own physician, because, you know, the fat soluble vitamins require fat for absorption. So, you know, you've got vitamin A and vitamin D and vitamin E. So you probably do want to, you know, to check
I
that
think
out. Do
most-
you take anything?
In our discussions on the board, I think all of us are vitamin D deficient, and I
Okay.
do take a weekly supplement.
Okay.
So,
See?
but they check all of that routinely with our blood work.
Okay. So if you're not getting that done, then that might be something you want to have your
Yes.
physician check for you.
Great.
So, good question.
Yeah, I know, great. Transitioning on to our next question. Why are essential fatty acids important for an FCS-friendly diet?
So when you're eating more fat, you will get these essential fatty acids. The essential fatty acids are not made in your own body, so they have to come from an outside source. And if people are eating more fat, they're eating lots of, let's say, walnuts have lots of this alpha-linolenic acid. There's linoleic acid in soybean oil, and you know, so they're getting a good supply. For people that are only having 20 grams of fat a day, they really need to think about it. Ask their physician, do they need to be concerned, and then how could we work it in? So, you know, some people may be asked to have a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of flax or the chia seeds.
Is that more important for younger and maybe not for me because I'm older?
That it would be important for everyone. So I would definitely check that out. I know the oatmeal that I brought with me this time for my room has 200 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid because it has a tiny bit of chia seeds in it. And it's just a regular blend of oatmeal that's instant oatmeal, but it's really
You know,
good.
those words just fall right off of you.
But they're even on labels now. I mean, it said it right there on the label for someone. So it was kind
Yeah.
of, but that alpha-linolenic acid, yeah, you got to be a lipid specialist to say that easily.
Great. Do you have any ideas for holiday cookies that are FCS friendly?
I do not.
If you wanted like the quickest version of a cookie that you could ever think of, that's FCS friendly. You take rolled oats, a smashed banana, some cinnamon, a little stevia, and an egg white, mix it together and plop it onto a nonstick pan, or I always use the nonstick aluminum foil, and just bake it in the oven.
Okay.
My husband calls it oatmeal to go. It's like, running out the door. It really doesn't taste great like later because the bananas really absorb a lot of water from the atmosphere and they sort of get sort of like that. So I don't know if I would call it a cookie or a quick breakfast, but it is something. But starting with oats, whole wheat, egg whites, your vanilla extract, and then you've got to get something else in there.
We need a
And-
good strawberry pie recipe, don't we?
Yeah, we
Good
do.
crust. Need a good crust.
Yeah,
Well, we have this
banana
apple
for
crisp
that.
here too, which is a good. That's a good
Right.
recipe
And
as well.
I did make a crust, but not for a pie, where I took the instant brown rice that I just put in the microwave, and then I mixed it with an egg white and just smashed that onto the bottom of a 8x8 pan. And then you could use that to put something on top of that you would have had a crust. And actually, I tried it for the spinach pie, and it was pretty good. It wasn't fabulous, but for something else, it would be good and quick.
Great. Great. Love that we're getting all these questions. So I really miss nuts. What can I eat instead?
Okay, let's see. Nuts. Everybody loves nuts, and they are high in fat. They're like 15 grams of fat in it in an ounce or a serving. So they're really high. But there's a couple ideas that I can think of. One would be that if you want the taste of nuts, we have like almond extract. So you can get an alcohol-free almond extract and put it into a bread pudding and have an almond bread pudding, but it doesn't actually have almonds in it. Another idea, which is kind of a holiday thing, if you think about it, chestnuts. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. And I even saw chestnuts at the store the other day. And those are 0 gram. I mean, there's no
And
fat.
Bridget loves chestnuts.
Yeah.
Did she tell you?
No, I didn't
yeah.
hear. But they're sweet. They taste like nuts. And in an ounce is a serving, and it has 0.4 grams of fat.
Which is
Something like that,
unbelievable.
maybe 0.5.
I can't believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
surprised.
So chestnuts. And then the other idea is the water chestnut. So if you're looking for that crunchiness that you want in a stir fry, or somebody else is making a Thai thing with lots of peanuts and all that, you would get that same feeling of nuts if you just use the water chestnuts.
Oh, okay.
So that's
know.
that's a good one.
Mary, is it safe to use egg substitutes instead of egg whites?
I like to use egg substitutes, just be the fat-free egg substitute. You've got a carton, it's right there, in your fridge. It's easy to pour out. There's no breaking of the eggs. Some people think that, it has a lot of ingredients, or it's processed, or, it is pasteurized, which is a good thing. It does look like it has a lot of ingredients, but it's really 99% egg whites. And then the rest of the ingredients, like it's yellow, not from a food dye, but it's yellow from beta carotene. I mean, good to have.
Yeah.
And then it has some vitamins added back that were originally in the yolk. So you'll see big words like, thiamine, blah, 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 blah. And it looks like it's a big word, but it's really just a vitamin. So, I would say that egg substitutes are fine. But of course, egg whites are easy too and interchangeable. Unless you really like, if you're going to make a frittata, maybe you want it to look yellow. Another way you can make it look yellow if you didn't want to use egg substitute, you could use egg whites, a pinch of turmeric.
Oh,
Yeah,
good idea.
and turmeric's a spice,
spice. Mhm.
and it has such a yellow color, and and it isn't that flavorful if you're just using it a little bit to make the egg white frittata look yellow.
Right.
Because you
That's
want,
great. Yeah, you want to
the way things usually look.
Right, exactly. We do have another question on MCT oil. So if MCT oil doesn't work for me, how else can I get safe calories? Would protein powder work?
I'd have to look at the container of the protein powder to see, how many grams of fat it has. But I would say that protein powder could work. Protein does have 4 calories a gram, and fats have 9 calories a gram. That's why MCT was such a good source of calories, because that particular kind of stuff has 8.3 calories per gram. But getting those extra calories might be just a bigger portion of a good whole grain, like barley and,
And I know there's
more-
some difference between regular cottage cheese and low-fat cottage cheese and fat-free cottage cheese, which is protein,
Right. It's a
but
good protein
it would have
source.
different calories, maybe,
Right.
depending
but
on.
you would just pick the fat-free usually, and if it wasn't fat-free, if it was low-fat, then it would just have more calories from fat,
Yeah.
which you wouldn't want. But picking up, a little bit larger portions of all the foods you're eating to get the calories in. If you're struggling to keep your weight on, which sometimes is a challenge for people.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know?
Active teenagers
Yeah.
need the extra.
Let's move right along to our next question. If I'm eating right, is it okay to have a cheat day?
We'll let Sandy answer first.
Well, I was born in the 60s, and at that time there was no low fat anything. And I was 56 before I met another FCS patient, because it's such a rare disease. It's 1 or 2 to a million. So what I have discovered in the past year and a half of meeting all my wonderful FCS people is that we are all very individual and very unique. And some of us are in the hospital a lot. It's been more than 10 years since I personally have been in the hospital. And so obviously I do cheat, and I do eat things that are off my diet. And a lot of that's because I eat out a lot, because I'm an empty nester and my husband and I just go out to eat a lot. But there's a lot of us that are sick a lot. And so you really need to pay attention to your body and how you feel. And when you start getting that pain and then you have to lay off the eating, drink a lot of water, and it's very personal, and you do need to discuss it with your doctors and your team. So
Yeah. So in answer to that question, I would say a health professional would say no cheat days.
absolutely,
Have a
you're
little
professional.
tiny bit, more throughout the day. It's kind of like our busy freeways on Friday night with all the traffic. The same thing when you eat a big meal, even. You eat a lot in one day, the triglycerides are building up,
Love
the
that
chylomicrons
illustration.
are building up, and so you really need to sprinkle it throughout the day. Is the best way to do it.
Great, thanks, Mary. So this actually will be our last question, since we're running out of time. And it comes from Genevieve. And Genevieve, this is for Mary. Are glucosamine and chondroitin supplements okay for people with FCS? And I apologize if I did not say that
I
correctly.
think you said it pretty good, but I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I know that an orthopedic plus your own physician might know best whether those are okay supplements.
Genevieve trying to stump us?
Great, perfect. So thank you everybody for sending along your questions on the live chat webinar. This was really great. Really nice to get everybody's feedback online. Mary and Sandy, I just want to thank you so
Thanks.
much for being here.
Thanks, it was great
Thank
being
you.
here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I just had a great time doing this with you guys, and can't wait to do it again. And want to thank everybody this morning for participating in the webinar, our first live FCS Holiday Connection webinar. Please feel free to visit fcsfocus.com, where there are many good nutritional resources available. And also, in the very near future, this live webinar will also be online for your viewing. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.